Vanakkam, Namaste, and hello. This is Sagar Kharecha, and alongside Simon King, I documented the laying of the foundation stone at Neath Hill, Murugan Temple, Milton Keynes. The ceremony took place on the 15th of May, on a day called Vaikasi Visakam, which is the birthday of Lord Murugan. Lord Murugan is the central deity of this particular temple. The foundation stone serves to sanctify the expansion of the temple, and in particular the space in which the deities will be residing once the building is complete. It also serves to bring prosperity to the devotees and to the wider community. Here we can see the area in which the ceremony will be taking place, after which the stone will be covered and buried and construction can then begin. We arrived at 6 a.m. to assist with the setting up and to document the preparations. Around 300 to 400 devotees will be attending across the day, and in particular the ceremony will be taking place at an auspicious time deemed from 9:07 a.m. to 11:02 a.m. So here we can see the typical temple etiquette. The shoes are taken off for cleanliness, the bell is rung to acknowledge the deities, and a prayer is given. On the left we have Lord Ganesh, in the center we have Lord Murugan and his two consorts, and on the right we have Meenakshi Devi, an incarnation of Parvati, and a Shivalinga, which represents the divine union between Parvati and Shiva. So in the middle here we can see all of the offerings being prepared. In particular we have the coconuts. Of course, coconuts being ubiquitous across India, they contain a very rich cultural and spiritual meaning. One example of this would be the shattering of the coconut shell as being parallel to the shattering of our own negativity. With regards to photographing an event like this, participation is just so key to trust and access. You have to show that you're more than a photographer. With regards to myself, I also consider myself to be a devotee, and there's a unique parallel to photographing a spiritual event with regards to the concept of seva, a kind of selfless service. So I regard photography in this sense to be a selfless service, as it contributes to the legacy of the temple, and we can see how this informs the next generation and representation, in particular to Milton Keynes and to the wider community. We have Thompson here, who is a steadfast devotee preparing from the early hours, and this is for the Abhishekam, another ritual bathing for the deities being prepared. I'm using the 28 here. I really enjoy the 28, it's my favorite focal length. I enjoy the layering that's possible, particularly within wider contexts. I want as much information, and I love the closeness of physically having to be there as well. There we can see the foundation stone, and more devotees are arriving. Again, it's this trusted access which allows me to use the 28 to get as much of the devotees in, as much information as I can in. Here we can see the devotees lighting the ghee lamps. So the function of the ghee lamps relates to the function of fire. Fire is another core deity referred to as Agni. We can see the gestures of the devotee asking for knowledge with the taps on the head, and the crouching for forgiveness, and the crossing of the palms and the offering for acknowledging the deities. So fire acts as a mediator between the devotee and the deity, particularly when offerings are given. You can see the fire pit there, where offerings are essentially burnt in and transferred. More devotees are arriving now, and the priests are also arriving as well. And again, photography like this, with regards to re-examining my own culture, allows for a kind of unique perspective that I otherwise would not be able to understand in this way. It's about how do you communicate to an audience that has no prior knowledge of your own culture, and how can you enhance the imagery that already exists within your own culture. So the ceremony has begun, and the couple on the left is beginning a simple ritual purification with the hands. We have 4 primary priests and 2 additional priests, these two of which are sons of the main priest here at the Murugan temple. And this is another concept that I'm focusing on, this intergenerational priesthood, which I find really fascinating. Here we can see one of the sons who is now purifying all of the temple and passing on the blessings of that water. You can see why it's necessary to expand the temple. In fact, this particular community has existed for 20 to 25 years. So across time, this particular building has become more and more packed, and so the deities will be better accommodated and the devotees will be better accommodated with more space. Here we have the primary priest of the Murugan temple, who is just explaining to the devotees. And this temple is primarily of the Tamil tradition. With regards to my equipment, it's fairly simple. I use a Nikon F2 and my favorite lens, the 28-2.8 on. I also have the 105-2.5 and almost always a roll of Ilford HP5 at 1600, and I stand dev in Ilfotech HC. I'm very fortunate again to have the trust of the temple in moving where I want to move. Otherwise it'd simply not be this possible to get close. We have all of the committee members present. Again, all local to Milton Keynes. And we can see the process of something called yagna, where the offerings are put directly into the fire. And the fire, the deity Agni, transfers the offerings to the deities, Lord Murugan, Ganesh and Parvati. We can see the Abhishekam ceremony now, the ritual bathing, consisting of typically honey, milk, yogurt, fruits, items considered within the material mode of goodness, things that are rich, fatty, nutritious and filling. Now the yagna is complete. We have lots of smoke filling the room. It's very atmospheric. Got this soft lighting from above. And again, these coconuts, which have now been blessed, they're being prepared for a circumambulation around the temple, after which they will be brought outside. Again, I'm just trying to get as much context as I can with the 28 and the overhead shot. The bell is rung continuously to keep the devotees' attention to the present. And now we can see the conclusion to the Abhishek, where the coconut water is washed across the deities and the deities are now garlanded. Daily Abhishekam like this ritual bathing, is very rare. In fact, it's one of the, I would say, the only places in Milton Keynes where it happens on such a regular basis. And now we've moved outside where the same process is happening. The ground is sanctified, so shoes are taken off, socks are taken off. We're walking barefoot here on mud and sharp stones. And I will be circuiting this inner arena where you can see these blue barriers. So devotees who wish to contribute towards the temple can lay money at the foundation stone. Money, in fact, is encompassed by another deity called Lakshmi, and money represents a concentration of energy. So by placing money on the foundation stone, you're inviting Lakshmi and all of the prosperity and her goodwill into the temple. Again, very privileged access here. Otherwise, I would be outside all of these barriers. Every now and then I would be relegated to the corner as I would linger too close to the edge. So the devotee was looking out in terms of health and safety, but this event would simply not happen again. So I would be risking it, but I think it was well worth it because this is such a historical event. Again, trying to layer as much information as I can with the priests and the transfer of items in and out, and those sharp stones keeping me present, trying to compartmentalize the pain and trying to stay focused as much as I can. Thank you for watching. We will be releasing a zine which tells the fuller story of the foundation stone ceremony, and we want to give a big thank you to Neath Hill Murugan Temple for allowing us to document the entire event and for working with us.